Good morning, colleagues from the media and also our CSO partners. My name is Sophie Mane, Program Assistant of the National Youth Parliament. Today we all are gathered here for a media briefing on a research that four organizations did sometime last year. Last year, UNDP funded a research on women and youth participation in governance, as well as their access to natural resources in the Gambia. A few months ago, we had a validation on these researches, and the validation was done successfully. Today, we gathered the media to have a media briefing before we distribute the findings that we had to the CSO partners, donors, and also government stakeholders. We're glad to have you all here. Thank you so much for coming. He is Sanaba Jawla from Bekanyang, and he is going to take us through the report.
My name is Sanaba Jawla, Senior Program Officer at Bekanyang. Last year, Bekanyang, National Youth Parliament, activists and Think Young Women have conducted a research looking at 4 thematic areas. And this is done purposely to inform policymakers and advocates as to what the status quo is in each of these thematic areas. So the press briefing would basically go this way, and it starts. Women and youth constitute the largest percentage of the national population of the Gambia. Despite their size, they are faced with a multitude of factors affecting their participation in governance, employment, human rights, and natural resources acquisition in the Gambia. This research, supported by the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, through the United Nations Peace Building Fund, was aimed to explore the factors affecting women and youth participation in governance, employment, human rights, and natural resources acquisition and management in the Gambia. The research was conducted to inform the development of policy briefs and fact sheets on the said themes. The research finding highlights the social, political, and economic factors affecting women and youth participation in governance, employment, human rights, and natural resource acquisitions. It provides some policy and practical recommendations that policymakers and program implementers can use to promote effective participation of women and youth in the governance, improve their employment opportunities and conditions, promote human rights, and increase more just acquisition and management of natural resources. Methodology. The research involved a mixed methods, cross-sectional survey, and focus group discussions. The samples for the survey targeted young people, including both male and female, aged 15 to 35 years, and women, using a semi-structured questionnaire that contained both closed and open-ended questions. A total sample of 150 respondents were surveyed in 6 communities in West Coast region, North Bank region, and Central River region. In each region, 2 communities were selected by simple balloting proportional to population size and taking into account geographic and ethnic representation. A total of 25 respondents were recruited from each of the 2 selected communities in each region. The 25 respondents comprised of 12 women and 13 youth per community. The Gambia Bureau of Statistics Directory of Settlements of the 2013 Populations and Housing Census, which comprises all the communities in the Gambia and their population size, was used as a sample frame for the selection of the study communities in the 3 regions. Following the completion of the survey, we have conducted 3 focus group discussions in 3 communities, Farafenye, Bansang, and Brikama, in the same survey regions. Data collection for the focus group discussion was facilitated by a question guide that was used to collect qualitative data until saturation was attained. The data resulting from the focus group discussion was used to support the findings of the cross-sectional survey. Each focus group discussion constituted 6 persons to ease management and avoid public gatherings as recommended during the COVID-19 pandemic. The focus group discussions were conducted for the same target groups in the survey, youth and women of different sexes, male and female respondents, within the same age range of 15 to 35 for youth and women, and above for women. Following the focus group discussion, we conducted 8 regional stakeholder consultations and 1 national. During the consultations, the stakeholders were presented with the findings of the survey and focus group discussions. Their perceptions were sounded and recorded and further used to supplement the research findings. Our findings on each of the thematic areas. 1, women and youth participation in governance. Key findings. The study findings reveal that more women and youth reported voting in presidential elections, 74.8%, than in the parliamentary and local government elections. The most negligible voting among women and youth happens under the local government elections, which recorded 44.1%. It is also important to note that about 26% of women and youth reported that they have never voted in any elections. It was astonishing that 97.8% of our respondents reported that they have never contested in any of the 3 elections. And 32.6% of our respondents who reported that they have never contested in these elections are male, while 67.3% are female. And of this total number of respondents, 65% are below age 35 years, while 34.9% are above 35 years. Leadership and decision making. According to our survey, women and youth occupying leadership positions in institutions or structures like village development committees, CSOs, ward development committees, state-owned enterprises, and regional youth committees for the youth is still limited. Although the study revealed that 45.5% and 36.4% of the respondents have held or are holding leadership positions in their VDCs and CSOs respectively, a very insignificant number are holding or have ever held leadership positions in state-owned enterprises and political parties. The reasons are generally similar to the ones preventing women and youth from contesting for political office. Per the study, women are mostly seen through the misconstrued view of lacking assertiveness and decision-making ability as opposed to their male counterparts. Because leadership roles require these traits, which women are viewed to be lacking, they are usually not trusted to lead. Another prominent reason behind the limited women leadership in the state institution is that they are mostly weighed down by their traditional reproductive role of childbearing, coupled with gender norms such as household or home-keeping duties. Youth employment. Under this theme, the study explored the level of employment and unemployment among young people, monthly pay or earnings, and expenditure level in terms of dependency. The study used the youth age bracket of 15 to 35 years. Key findings. The study revealed that 63.7% of the respondents reported that they are employed, while 36.3% reported unemployed. However, further analysis showed that majority of the respondents are self-employed, 74.3%, and working in the agricultural sector as smallholder farmers. This is consistent with recent studies that 33.5% of young people in the Gambia are employed in agriculture, which predominates in rural areas. About 64.5% of our respondents who reported unemployed are female, while 35.4% are male. This seems to validate suggested evidence in the Gambia that female youth are generally likelier to face higher risks of being unemployed, 31%, against 27% for male youth. This is possibly a reflection of the period when childbearing and domestic responsibilities begin for female youth. These are consistent with the recent studies that 33.5% of the young people in the Gambia are engaged in agricultural production at small scale level. Our study revealed that in terms of other employers or sectors, there is an observed low level of employment by the government, which employs just about 7% of the respondents compared to 18% by the private sector. In terms of job pay, the study revealed that about 84.5% of the respondents have a monthly earning of just about $5,000 or below. Their low level of earning is being aggravated by high level of dependency pressure, which about 79% of the respondents having up to about 4 to 13 people depending on them for their daily sustenance. What more is their job dissatisfaction. Our survey revealed that 25.3% of the respondents do not like their current job, but are sticking around due to lack of other options or choices, reported by 63.2%. Factors for unemployment, according to our research: limited employable skills and capacities among youth, 52.9%, limited and unavailable of diverse job opportunities, 32.4%, discrimination by virtue of gender or physical ability, 14.7%. Human rights. Under this theme, the study focused on knowledge of basic human rights violations in the past 5 years, perpetrators, and seeking redress for violations. Although the current government has taken transitional justice programs since 2017, the process has not been devoid of facts. People, especially in the study areas, still experience different forms and levels of human rights violations. The study revealed that respondents know that they have rights and can list some of those rights, particularly the right to education, freedom of speech, right to health, security, and political participation. It was understood by the survey that people do not have deep understanding of human rights, which could be a factor limiting them being able to distinguish between rights violations and non-rights violations. On right violations, the study revealed that 77.7% reported that they have never experienced any form of human rights violations in the past 5 years, while 22.3% reported the opposite. By the study, the most violated rights is access to quality education and freedom of expression, both at 48.1%. This suggests that despite the country's emergence from dictatorship, the past 5 years has not been devoid of human rights violations. By this study, the existence of the National Human Rights Commission, NHRC, is not known by about 97% of women and youth in those regions. Thus, limited complaints and reports being channeled to the NHRC. Access to and ownership of natural resources. Natural resources are integral part of the development of any country. They are key ecosystem services that contribute to bettering the lives of people. Natural resources, especially land, is key for agricultural development and human settlement. The forest, river, water bodies are equally important in protecting human settlements and providing food and other products necessary for human survival. Despite their significance to the lives and livelihood of communities and individuals, it is still quite worrisome that women and youth in the Gambia are still facing complex structural barriers in terms of accessing and owning natural resources, particularly land in these areas of residence. Key findings. The study revealed land, despite being rated as the most important natural resource among respondents in the study regions, it is correspondingly the most difficult to access and own, as reported by 86.9% of our respondents. This is mainly due to lack of financial means to acquire land, 61.5%. Another factor inhibiting women and youth access to land ownership of natural resources like land as certain socio-cultural barriers such as gender discrimination, unfair distribution of landed properties during family inheritance, and other customary ways of land acquisition. And the common traditional belief that men are breadwinners in families and therefore should have larger shares of land for agricultural expansion and settlement for family survival. Acquisition of land seems to be mostly through families. Almost 70.4% of the survey participants acquired land through their family members. This does not necessarily mean women and youth are owning huge percentage of land in the study areas. It is instead suggesting that their ownership of land is mainly through family by gift. Recommendations from the survey. Reference to the findings above, the survey makes the following recommendations according to the respective teams. Access to and ownership of natural resources. There is urgent need for the government to introduce a comprehensive land policy that addresses the issues of land tenure system, access, and ownership. CSOs and media should parallel this with intensive sensitization on the content of the policy and legal documents on land tenure systems. Human rights. The civil society organizations and the Human Rights Commission should increase citizen awareness level through such strategic and community-based engagements on the existence and mandates of the Human Rights Commission. The Gambia Police Force should be given more training on policing in a democratic society with strict observation of human rights in the execution of the rules. Youth unemployment. The education curricula should be reviewed and further decentralized to promote skills-based education in various fields and upgrade technical and vocational education training TVET institutions to equip youth with more practical knowledge and skills, preparing them for the labor market. There is need to increase an attractive environment for regulated investment in the private sector, including investment in agriculture, both in crop production and animal husbandry. Women and youth participation in governance. There is need for more civic engagement championed by the civil society organizations, media, and the National Council for Civic Education to increase civic education and awareness, especially in provincial Gambia, on the significance of parliamentary and local government elections and the mandate of their representatives. In order to increase women and youth political participation contesting for offices, the civil society and educational institutions should focus their efforts more on educating the masses on the significance of women and youth political leadership. This should include transformation of socio-cultural beliefs and gender and demographic stereotypes, leveraging the support and participation of religious and traditional leaders in communities could be helpful in demystifying certain misconstrued beliefs against women and youth. In conclusion, from the survey, it is obvious that despite the research limitations, a picture of the current realities of the country's development status vis-a-vis women and youth could be sensed. Women and youth are integral in the Gambia's development trajectory by virtue of their population size and potentials to create a transformative change. However, it is quite unfortunate that they continue to be confronted with numerous challenges cutting across their economic, social, and political development. The participation and inclusion in governance and leadership of youth and women is crucial, for excluding them could potentially increase their vulnerability to poverty and threaten peace-building processes in the Gambia. The creation of access to decent job opportunities for women and youth will not only enhance their living standards, but will equally promote rapid socio-economic development in the country. protection and promotion of human rights are fundamental to development of countries. It avails everyone the opportunity to realize his or her potentials. By the survey findings, there appears to be suggested evidence in the study regions that people just know they have rights, but they seem to be ill-equipped when it comes to understanding what constitutes human rights violations, especially their economic rights, social rights, cultural rights, and religious rights. Demanding for their rights and the processes to follow in seeking redress or justice for human rights violations. Thank you.